When we lost everything, I said everything, then you will find a fire.
Our speaker starts herself from the ground zero and now she's a proud trainer, person who creates impact through content and a language expert.
Let's welcome our speaker of the day, strongest Miss Prathiba Leo, content creator, language expert, Chennai. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Miss Prathiba Leo. The stage is all yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so happy to be here, and more than that, I feel truly honored and privileged to be speaking in such an enthusiastic crowd. So thank you so much for staying till the very end. So I would say let's clap for all of us over here. All right. Before I start my speech, I would like to express my most sincere gratitude to Bala sir for actually inviting me to this event. Now, let me start off by saying one of my most favorite quote, which is, what defines us is not the kind of work we do, but what truly defines us is how well we rise after falling. And this quote stands very true to my life. And I would like to describe my life in two phrases. My life journey from rejections to complete resilience. And growing up, I was a very chirpy young girl. I was topping my school. I was topping my extracurricular activities. You know, I was the teacher's pet. The teachers used to tell me, oh, you give something to Pratibha, she'll do it immediately. That was the kind of girl I was. And even at home, I was very, very, very pampered. My father wouldn't even let my feet touch the ground. Literally, he used to treat me like a princess. And that's how I was for like 17 to 19 years of my life. School and college life was like a walk in the park. I did not even know how I even passed those years because it was as if I was walking in a magic carpet. The journey was just seamless. I did not even know what rejections, anxiety, depression, self-loathing, all these phrases were alien to me when I was in my teens. And things took a whole 360-degree turn when I entered my career stream. So I joined in 2016 as a catalogue associate in one of the top MNCs companies in the world, right 2 months after my graduation. As soon as I entered, I was hired from 20 different people, and I was put across a group where there were different kinds of people. I was an aeronautical engineer, and there, the next person sitting right next to me was a marine engineer, and another person was from IIT, and there another person from Yale, Harvard, you name it, the top B schools were right across me. And from day one, I used to feel inferior, because we were made to feel like the tier 1 colleges, such as the Harvard, the Yales, the IITs, and the IIMs, they were getting paid different amount of salary, and they used to sit in a different group. They won't talk to the people, who are graduated from tier 2 colleges, for example, like Anna University or any such universities for that sort. Because according to them, you were being validated based on the universities that you studied. So I found it very, very, very difficult to prove myself. Because you know how typically the IITs and the IIMs are, right? Like they have a very analytical and a logical thinking. Before you could even say a word, they will just prove it on paper. And they were very fast. And honestly, it was quite difficult to compete with them. So in 2016, right after I joined, I was put across with this team. And I started my work by reading the standard operating procedures, the SOPs of that particular team. I did my homework very, very sincerely. When my team leader used to tell me certain instructions, I, being that naive young girl, used to carry a notebook and a pen all along the meeting room when everyone would take notes on their iPad or their laptops. I would just write down, scratch, or just take an eraser and, rub it all across. I just loved doing that. So that was something which I was doing throughout. And I found it difficult, to kind of prove myself. And there was a hunger, to make myself stand apart from the crowd. Because as you can see, right from childhood, I was given a golden platter without even me asking for it. And I was yearning for that recognition. I was thinking, why couldn't I be recognized? I'm getting the required productivity. My quality is met. My SLAs are excellent. What more do you require from me? And they wanted a process improvement. And so I dealt with different departments. I studied different departments altogether, how the product works, and I started devising my own process map. 2.5 years later, I applied for a promotion. And it was not just one promotion. I applied for a promotion as a language expert. Because I had this habit of studying languages right from 8 years old, all thanks to my father. He speaks 6 languages and I speak 9. And thanks to him, I enrolled in the Alliance Française of Madras right from my 6th grade, and I completed till B1 when I entered my first organization. And I applied for it without even thinking, what will the hiring manager say? But I was confident in my skills. I knew that I had something to bring to the table. It was just not me speaking. I had a solid proof of document to prove my journey. And I applied for that exam. I wrote that exam. And I had 3 levels of interviews where I had to speak fluent French. And I had to converse to them in fluent French, explain the process in French, write the process map in French, and all those sorts. And I did that. And I knew that I had not made a single mistake because even the grammatical thing I was preparing for 12 whole years. So I knew the kind of interview that they would keep. And I felt good about my interview. I felt deep down that, okay, now I have a shot, I'll definitely get it. 3 to 4 hours of the interview, I got a call from my manager asking me to come on for a one-on-one. And I thought like, okay, she was going to give me a feedback, obviously. And she said, I'm sorry, Prathiba, but we are rejecting your application. I was just gobsmacked because I did not expect that. But in all honesty, I asked her, what is the reason for my rejection? And she didn't say a single word. I kept asking her again and again. See, I understand that I may have done some mistakes, or I'm not a perfectionist. But I kept asking her, just tell me that one reason. Because let's face it, even if you're being rejected, you want to know the reason for what you're being rejected for so that you can work towards it. And the next time you can just, scratch it off. But she never gave me that. So I wrote a mail to the hiring manager. I asked him, requesting him to please provide me the reason because I was at a pivotal part of my journey. I just started and I'm in the middle. I can't quit nor I cannot continue. So I was questioning myself. And he did not even respond to my email. But after that, I didn't even feel like escalating him or even talking to my hiring manager or my lead manager or even filing a complaint to the HR. I knew that something was going on and I felt completely dejected because they did not tell me for what you're being rejected. So I went home, I cried to my mom and I said, they have rejected me. And my mom didn't know how to handle this because the corporate industry is something which is up and coming, right? You cannot expect your own family members to understand your pain. They'll just say, chalo, leave it for the next interview, just prepare well, that's it. But in my heart, I had asked this question, what is the reason for my rejection? And from that day onwards, I used to keep preparing. I opened my French book. I wrote as many essays as I can. I submitted to my professors of Alliance Française. And looking at the way I was working, they even invited me to be a head of translation cell leading the French embassy. And I even turned down that job because I told them, no, I will not quit unless I know the reason for this. So 3 months passed like this. And with those 3 months, I was down focused. I thought, you know what, I'm going to get C1. I know his qualifications. The hiring manager only had a B2. Let me get one more level than him and let's see where am I getting rejected on. So I applied for my DELF examinations. I cleared my B2 and my C1 and I came out in flying colors. Again, a year after, I applied for the same role saying, these are the skills that I'm going to be bringing to the table. These are my certifications and I would like you to schedule an interview. And they did. This time it was a different hiring manager altogether. And they did not give me one promotion. They gave me a double promotion with a 200% hike. And honestly, I was very surprised because I did not do this for that promotion. I wanted to prove to myself, because I had asked that question to me, saying, okay, fine, Pratibha, you need to know the reason why you're being rejected. And they didn't tell me why I was rejected back then, nor why I was selected as well. But in retrospect, that person ignited a fire in my gut. And that fire still runs till this very moment. And as I was practicing and polishing my language skills, the pandemic hit. Within a month of pandemic, I got a job from another reputed organization as a program lead to be invited to be leading a team of 10 to 15 people. And without a second thought, I applied for the job. And I happily was just, drifting across that job because I knew that I was confident in myself. And I knew that the next time people were going to question me, I'll have solid proof to tell them this is the reason why I've been hired. But that one incident kept lingering in my mind again and again and again. And this time when the pandemic hit, it became like a sort of a blessing to me. I had so much of time in my hands. I wanted to still prove because I felt like I was not up to that potential. Maybe I had so much to offer, but I was not giving my 200% or a 300%. I was not the competitive girl that I was back in school and college. And I forced myself to be productive in pandemic. And back then, I used to follow this YouTuber. I still follow this YouTuber. Her name is Saloni Shrivastava, and she is my mentor actually. And that time she opened a course for mentorship for blogging and YouTubing, but I had a way of languages and a way of writing, so I applied for her mentorship without a second thought. As soon as I got on call with her, I had the zeal to prove something, and I spoke to her. I told her, see, these are my skills. Now you tell me how is it that you can help me. And we got on a 2-hour call, and we brainstormed as much as we can. And after those 2-hour call, I immediately launched my blog. I started creating content, and I just put it up. I didn't want to wait for the perfect moment. I just started in a haste. Well, it wasn't perfect back then, but now I can say that if I hadn't taken that step 1, 2 years later, 2 years before, I wouldn't be standing right in front of you guys. Because that step 1 is what got me to step 50 right here. So I'm very thankful for that experience. So I started writing both in English and in French. I brushed up my skills, and sideways I even picked up Italian and Spanish, all thanks to Netflix. I was just practicing it while watching those series, and I had a grasp of that language. And soon, people started to recognize me as a polyglot, someone who speaks multiple languages. I did not know that this skill was actually a kind of a dominant skill or something which is in-demand skill, but I just learned for the fun of it because, I don't want anyone to reject me on that basis. And I started creating content endlessly, day and night. I lost my familial relationships because, weekends I used to just write. And my family used to call me a crazy person because they thought I had gone mad. I was just sitting in the computer and I was not talking to them. And I just told them, see, I'm just working on something and I want to make this into a big venture. And I kept working and working and working. And one fine day, after writing countless amount of blogs, I got a mail from this particular person who said, hey Pratibha. The subject was just, hey Pratibha. I didn't know who that person was. I just opened the email. And he said, I knew you were an enthusiastic girl, but I did not know that you were this bright. I saw one of your performances in IIT Sarang in 2013, and I want you to come to TEDx. And he invited me to be part of TEDx just because I was writing. And I did not know that this person remembered me for 8 long years. I gave a speech in IIT in 2013. I still don't remember what that speech was, But he remembered that, and he pinged me, and he said that he looked at my profile, not at my resume, but he looked at my profile, something other than my usual resume. He looked at my skills, and he said, you need to share your story to someone else, because there is some other person down there who's about to quit just because they were rejected. And I was just thinking, oh God, am I an influencer now? What am I going to influence people? I myself am finding my way. And I gave my speech. And it was right then did I realize the magnitude of what I was offering to the table. And that's when the moment of resilience kicked in. I used to think that rejection was, a kind of a curse. But those rejections were the ones which turned into a blessing and which shaped me into the person that I am today. And I'm very, very happy to let you all know that I'm a successful content creator on LinkedIn, a ghostwriter, a copywriter, and also, thanks to my so-called hiring manager, I'm a public speaking and a communications coach. So I coach people, for people who are all scared of landing a job just because they feel that they don't have that skill. I help them to discover their skill and go from 0 to 100. But it will all be done only in step-by-step method, no fluffs at all. All doing this along with a full-time job. I'm also working as a communications expert at an edutech firm. So it gets really, really hard. But I am truly happy of how far I've come. If at least one person in this room can take that as an achievement, thinking that, you don't have to prove to anyone else. Rejections are indeed a blessing. You just need to prove to yourself. That's all that requires. I mean, none of these people are in your shoes. They don't know what you're going through. They don't know you. And for God's sake, they don't even know what you're thinking about, right? They just judge you by looking at your external appearances. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's lots more than what meets the eye. And beauty truly lies in the eyes of the beholder. And it doesn't mean that, you are worthless. And if I want to end this talk by saying, if people are not going to give you a seat at the table, then you create that gone-dad table. So with that, I would like to end this speech. Thank you so much.